Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. Last week I showed you how to encase an 8mm chaton with a right angle weave, and I taught you the sunburst earrings. Well, as I was making the earrings, I thought, wow, this would make a really pretty bracelet. So instead of showing you a new design this week using the right angle weave, I'm going to show you how I made a bunch of these little sunburst pieces and connected them together to make a really pretty just show-stopping bracelet. So basically, to make this bracelet, what you're going to need is a clasp. Now the clasp can be a clasp of your choice, whether it be a toggle, a lobster claw, or whatever. You're also going to need some size 11 seed beads. Again, just like last week, I found it best if you use my Yuki 11s, but you can use Toho's. And then you can use either a Miyuki or a Toho size 15 seed bead. Just like last week, both brands will work with the 15s. I'm also going to be using an 8mm chaton, and then you're going to need your thread, which I would not go over if you're using Fireline, a 6-pound Fireline. I'm actually going to be using my 1G thread today. And you're going to need a size 12 beading needle. I'm also going to be using just a handful of 3mm Bicones, but you could also use 3mm fire polish beads if you did not want to use the Bicones. So basically, to start, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be following last week's sunburst earrings tutorial. So if you go to YouTube, search for Off the Beaded Path, click on my channel, because that's going to be the first thing it's going to bring up. And then when you click on videos, they're going to go automatically in order of newest to oldest. So you can just go back a couple of videos and find my video that shows the sunburst earrings. And I'm going to be making components. I think I'm going to need about 11 components to make the completed bracelet. But you're going to need to make your components, and then I'm going to show you how to connect them to make your bracelet. I'm also going to show you how to add the clasp, and I'm going to give you a general idea as we go along of how many chatons it's going to take to make different size bracelets. So go ahead and get your materials together and get started, and then we'll jump in together. So as you can see here, I have my pile of the sunburst earring components made, and the only thing that I did not do is I did not put the loop on the top of them to make the actual little ear hoop type thing. So I've got my needle, and you can see I've left all of the threads onto my pieces here. So now I'm going to use one component, and I still have my needle onto that component. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the component and a second component, and I'm going to work and connect these two pieces together. So what you'll want to do as you finish your components, you'll want to actually stitch your thread down to where it's exiting a size 11 seed bead that is right below the parallel row. So like this row right here is parallel to the floor, and then this is my horizontal bead. So I want to be coming out of that horizontal bead that's connected to those 15s. So let me flip it around this way so that you can see another just kind of angle at where I'm coming out. Now I'm going to pick up, coming out of that bead, I'm going to pick up a 15, a 3mm bicone, and a 15. And then I'm going to get my next component here, and on this component it doesn't matter which one that I start with, but I'm just going to stick the needle through a size 11 horizontal bead on that second component. So when I pull the thread, those two will now be connected, albeit they will be connected loosely. So I'm actually going to flip it over here so I can see a little bit better as to what I'm doing. So now I'm going to pick up 115, and I'm going to go back through the 3mm that I just added. So I'm going to go back up through that 3 millimeter. And pull that thread, and see, I'm just got my finger on the chaton and I'm pulling the thread straight up. Now I'm going to pick up another 15 and I'm going to go through the horizontal bead here on the the first component I started with, so that I will have a 15 seed bead on each side of that little component. Now I'm going to turn it around here so that I'm working back upward. I'm going to go through the 15, so the first 15 that I added in the connection little section. I'm going to pick up 3 15s. I'm going to skip the crystal and I'm going to go through the 15 that's on the same side of the piece. Then I'm going to go through the 11 on the base of the chaton. Now I'm going to flip it to where I'm working up this direction. And then I'm going to go through the little 15 here. I'm going to thread on 3 15s one more time. Skip the crystal. And then go through the 15 on the other side of that crystal. So now this is what the back of my bracelet will look like, and this is what the front of the piece will look like. So now I'm going to go back through these beads again and reinforce it, and then I'm going to reinforce it several times and then stitch my thread through and trim the tails. If you don't feel secure about not tying the thread off, you can definitely tie that thread off, and then you will have this connection complete. The one thing that you'll want to do different once you actually have your connection complete is, if this is going to be the very first chaton encasement on your bracelet, so this is going to be the very end one, you'll want to use the thread that was on this first chaton encasement, and you'll actually want to stitch it to come out of the size 11 seed bead that is opposite where you did the connection, because you're going to want to leave this thread so that you can go back and add the clasp once you get these pieces connected. So that's the only thing that you'll have to do different on the first one versus all the other ones after it. Remember, on the very first one, we're going to leave the thread stitched over to the opposite bead where we connected it. Now I'll actually take and I will thread my needle onto this thread for my second component, and then I'm going to connect it one more time. So now I'm ready to add the third component. So I'm going to take a new component and lay it out here, and you can see here this was my first one that I started with because it still has the tail thread. This is the second component, and I've got my needle threaded, and as you can see, I have exited the size 11 seed bead that is exactly opposite where I did the connection between the first two components. So now I'm just going to lay the third component out. I'm going to use my needle and I'm going to pick up a 15. Let me get some more little 3 millimeters here. A 3 millimeter and a 15. So 15, 3, and 15. I'm going to go through an 11-0 on the third encasement, and if you have a bead that's kind of tight, don't go through it because you know you're going to have to go through it several times to reinforce. So go ahead and pull that through. Now I'm going to pick up a 15 and I'm going to come back down through this 3 millimeter again, and I'm going to hold that encasement in place as I pull the thread straight down the way it's coming out of the bead. And then I'm going to pick up another 15 here. I'm going to go back through the size 11 seed bead I started with on the second chaton so that it will have a 15 on each side of it. And then I'm going to pull that on through as well. So pull it, make sure you got it tight. Now I'm going to pick up, go through the 15 right next to that very first one I added. Pick up 3 15s. Skip 3 millimeter and go through the next 15 on that side. Now go through the 11-0 on the chaton base. Then through the 15-0 on this side. Then 3 15s. Skip the 3 millimeter. And then go down through the 15 right under the 3 millimeter. So that now I will be able to reinforce this connection here several times. I'm going to get rid of this thread, and then I will keep encasing and connecting the chatons until I have my desired length. So here are all my components connected together. It's important to know that 7 components, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 components are going to make a 4.5 inch piece of beadwork. 8 components are going to make a 5 inch piece of beadwork. 9 components are going to make 5.5 inches. 10 components are going to make 6 inches, and 11 components are going to make 6.5 total inches. Now this is of the beadwork, not with the clasp, okay? So just keep that in mind. So once I have all of these connected, I'm now ready to attach the clasp. And to do this, on the last component, I have stitched the thread to where it's coming out of the 11-0 that's exactly opposite where I did the connection. And it's that horizontal 11-0. So here I'm going to be using a wire protector and my clasp. I'm going to thread on 1 15, 1 11, my wire protector. Now when you thread on the wire protector, we're going to go up one side and then down the other side. Okay. And then I'm going to thread on the first part of my clasp. Now you want to make sure that the clasp goes up inside of the wire protector here, and then once you get it inside of it, I kind of pinch mine together to hold it into place there. Now I'm going to go ahead and go through the size 11 seed bead right here that I had threaded on right before that wire protector and pull that on through. Then I'm going to take a 15 and I'm going to go through the other side of the 11-0 that I was coming out of so that it finishes it, and I will have 1 15 on each side of that 11. So when I pull it, this is what the clasp part will look like. Then I'll reinforce this several times by going back through those connections and tie that thread off. Once I have this tied off and completed, then I'll thread my needle onto the tail thread on that first one and go ahead and add my clasp so that when I get it finished, it's a really beautiful bracelet with these beautiful sunburst components. So I hope you all enjoyed learning how to make this beautiful sunburst bracelet. I know that I completely am in love with this piece. So we will have this color kit for sale on our website, which is off the Beaded Path beadstore.com, as well as the instant downloadable pattern. Now to do this bracelet, you will need the sunburst earrings pattern as well as the sunburst bracelet pattern. Now, just so you guys know, I am doing an ebook for this whole Chaton series. So when I finish all this Chaton series, there will be an ebook available that will have all of these projects all together in one place. So thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, you're just one stitch away from either a breakthrough or a breakdown. So I hope you have a breakthrough this week. Again, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.